Hello, everyone, and welcome to the scoping meeting for the Grant Line Construction Aggregate Production and Recycling Facility Project. My name is Kira Killingsworth, and I am the city planner on the project. Joining me is Marianne Lowenthal from Ascent Environmental, the city's consultant on the EIR for the project. The city generally holds in-person meetings during the scoping period, but given social distancing requirements, we have been doing things a little bit differently and are asking you to watch this video to learn more about the project and the environmental review process. In addition to this video, you can find a copy of the full notice of preparation on this website, as well as information on how to submit comments. You can either submit them through the traditional mail, email, or on the web portal that's available on this website. After you watch this video, we ask that you take a moment to submit any comments or questions that you have to the city staff. To go over the project and the environmental review process, I'll hand it over to Marianne Lowenthal from Ascent Environmental. Thank you.
Thank you, Kira. Again, my name is Marianne Lowenthal. I am with Ascent Environmental, and we are helping the city with CEQA compliance for this project. The Grant Line Construction Aggregate Production and Recycling Facility Project will require an Environmental Impact Report, or EIR. This type of document is intended to focus on potentially significant adverse physical effects associated with both construction and operation of uses and infrastructure for the project. The objectives for this presentation are to notify you, responsible and trustee agencies, other parties, and the general public about this project and its environmental review. We will also discuss the issues to be evaluated in the EIR and provide ways to submit comments on the scope of the EIR. This presentation will provide a short project description and discuss the probable environmental effects to be addressed as part of the environmental review process. Information on how to provide input will be provided at the end of this presentation. To begin, I will give a brief overview of the project. This project is located in the southeastern portion of the city at 1000 Waterman Road, approximately 3,000 feet north of Grant Line Road. The project site was previously occupied by industrial uses, but it is now vacant and dominated by weedy vegetation and an aging rail spur. The project involves development of a ready-mix concrete facility, a hot mix asphalt facility, a concrete and asphalt recycling facility, and other ancillary structures. The project would be capable of processing 1.7 million tons of hot mix asphalt and ready-mix concrete per year. A maximum of 600,000 tons of raw material would be imported to the site. The facility is expected to typically operate from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Saturday, but would be designed to run 24 hours per day and 7 days per week as needed. The ready-mix concrete facility, shown in yellow on this slide, would consist of an elevated ready-mix concrete plant accompanied by an office, concrete aggregate storage area, concrete washout area, and a shop. Up to 200,000 cubic yards of ready-mix concrete would be processed annually for large-scale public and private commercial use. This facility would be accessed via a loop road that would extend through the site. The hot mix asphalt facility, shown in yellow on this slide, would consist of 2 tankers, 5 47-foot tall silos, a drum plant, and a hot mix asphalt aggregate storage area. Up to 300,000 cubic yards of hot mix asphalt would be produced annually. Access to this facility would be provided by access roads that would be developed within the project site. The recycling plant, shown in yellow on this slide, would process broken asphalt and concrete brought to the facility. It would be connected to the crushed reclaimed asphalt pavement area and the crushed miscellaneous base area to the west through a series of conveyor belts. An asphalt rubble pile area and a concrete rubble pile area would be located just north of the recycling plant. Up to 200,000 tons of recycled concrete and asphalt would be processed annually and would be used in the production of ready-mix concrete and hot mix asphalt. Access to the recycling plant would be available from a small access road connected to the main loop. And that wraps up the description of the project. Now we'll switch gears to discuss the environmental review process. What is CEQA? CEQA is the California Environmental Quality Act, and it is basically a public disclosure process whereby the public, local agencies, state agencies, and regional agencies are informed of the environmental consequences of a project. Public disclosure is essential to this process, which includes the scoping period, which we are in right now. Part of this process, we are asking agencies and members of the public to submit comments on what issues they think need to be addressed in the EIR. Also, in the CEQA process, we will be looking at ways to avoid or mitigate the environmental effects of the project. It's important to understand certification of the EIR does not indicate project approval. Project approval is a separate process from certification of the EIR. What is an EIR? An EIR discloses potential effects of the project on the environment, specifically the physical effects on the environment. An EIR also identifies mitigation measures for reducing those effects. And the EIR also describes feasible alternatives to the proposed project that would reduce environmental effects. There are a few things to keep in mind regarding what an EIR does and does not do. An EIR does not require mitigation for existing environmental conditions. It is an objective document, and it is not an advocate for the project under evaluation. Identification of significant environmental impacts in the EIR does not affect approval of the project. An EIR contains an evaluation of the physical environmental effects on the project and generally does not include consideration of economic or social issues. In order for a project to be considered for approval, the EIR must be certified. Certification of the EIR indicates that the lead agency, in this case, the City of Elk Grove, finds that the EIR is complete and in compliance with CEQA, that the decision-making body reviewed and considered the information contained in the EIR prior to approval of the project, and that the EIR reflects the lead agency's independent judgment and analysis. The EIR will contain an executive summary chapter that will include an overview of the project and a list of the environmental impacts and identified mitigation measures. The introduction chapter will provide information on the EIR process and purpose. The project description will provide a detailed description of the project, list the project objectives, and indicate the intended uses of the EIR. The project description will be used to evaluate the environmental impacts of the project and to identify mitigation measures to reduce or avoid potential environmental impacts. The EIR will also contain an analysis of the project's effects, combined with the effects of other foreseeable past, present, and future projects in its cumulative impact analysis. As mentioned earlier, alternatives to the project will be analyzed to determine alternative methods of reducing the environmental impacts of the proposed project while still meeting most of the project objectives. The EIR will contain a chapter that addresses the other statutory requirements such as growth-inducing impacts. As required by CEQA, the EIR will also contain a list of preparers, a list of references, and pertinent technical appendices used to support the environmental analysis. This slide presents the list of topics to be evaluated in the EIR, including aesthetics, air quality, biological resources, noise, transportation, and other resources areas. A few issues will not be addressed in the EIR, including agriculture and forestry resources, geologic resources, population and housing, recreation, and wildfire. We have determined that there will not be significant environmental effects associated with these topics. If you would like to have a little bit more information on why these topics are dismissed, please review the notice of preparation. As I mentioned earlier, public and agency input is key to the CEQA process, and I'm going to take a little bit of time to discuss how to get involved. We are currently in the public scoping period. and this meeting is intended to solicit comments pertaining to the potential environmental effects of the project, alternatives to the project, mitigation measures that could reduce the environmental effects of the project, and topics that should be analyzed in depth in the EIR. The public scoping period lasts 30 days. The draft will address the notice of preparation comments. Circulation of the draft EIR will occur for a 45-day public review period. During this time, agencies, interested parties, and the public will be asked to provide comments on the contents of the EIR. These comments will be addressed in the final EIR. The Elk Grove City Council will consider certification of the EIR after completion of the final EIR. And after completion and certification of the EIR, the Elk Grove City Council will consider approval of the project for implementation. This slide shows our anticipated schedule for the CEQA process. We expect the draft EIR to be ready for circulation and public review in spring of 2022, and the final EIR to be released in the summer or fall of 2022. We recommend that all comments are provided in writing. You can submit comments in writing via the comment portal on this website, or send in written comments to the address shown here, either through traditional mail or to the email address provided on this slide. The notice of preparation comment period will last for 30 days, ending on February 7th, 2022. Thank you so much for your time spent today watching this video.
And thanks, everyone. Please be sure to review the notice of preparation and the project website if you have any questions or would like more information. Thank you.